Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given, joined by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. How you doing? Oh, look, Hugh Jazz came in. So, all right.
It was Hugh Jazz.
You know what? We started like 40 seconds late, okay? And so while we were looking at the time, said, oh, man, people are going to be mad that we started late. And I was like, there's someone who comments with a watch and a little hand every time we start late. And John said, I think it's Hugh Jazz. And of course, right as we came on, we
right
see
on
that right on. It's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So before we got on backstage, John and I, through a hilarious coincidence, we're talking about The Sopranos. John, what were you going to say about The Sopranos? We were talking about how great the show is.
I mean, I was just saying how great of a show it is. Historically, it is probably the greatest show of all time because it was the start of shows being good. Like before The Sopranos, good television didn't exist. Like it was movies were good, TV was shit. And The Sopranos was the first TV show to ask the question, well, what if TV was good too? And not only was it good, it still holds up. Like I go back and watch a lot of shows from that time period, and I'm like, this doesn't hold up the way I remember it as a kid. The Sopranos holds up every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Every episode is great. Characters are great. The philosophy is great. It's just great on every single level. What were you going to say about it, TJ?
Well, I was going to say that what I love about The Sopranos is that it is not a comedy, but it is. Mm-hmm. Every episode is like half comedy. And somehow it's still, you would never describe the show as a comedy. It's a fucking comedy. It is it is on the surface a drama, like a gangster crime drama. And there's a lot of great dramatic elements and everything. They do a great job. But man, when they go for comedy, they nail it. It is just with the what do they call it, like malapropisms, when they say stuff that the incorrect way, like when Little Carmine says, what does he say? A pint of blood is worth more than a gallon of gold. Like just fucking up phrases here and there. I love that. And you were mentioning how it was the first time TV was good, which is a pretty funny way to put it. But what I hear a lot is it was the birth of like an anti-hero with prestige television and everything. And I think that's kind of true. It's certainly like where the main guy, like Tony Soprano, when they had him kill a mobster with his bare hands in the first season. But Oz, I think, was the first show that kind of went down that route because Oz was before The Sopranos. Now, Oz is not as good as The Sopranos, but I think Oz doesn't get enough credit for starting that way. Sopranos is definitely better, but if you guys don't know what Oz is, it's a prison TV show. Oz is short for Oswald State Penitentiary, and they call it Emerald City, which I think is pretty clever. But Sopranos, fantastic show. Who is your favorite character on Sopranos? You can't say Tony.
No, Tony's the best.
Yeah.
He is honestly one of the most well fleshed out,
incredible character. Yeah,
the actor, what's his name?
James Gandolfini.
James Gandolfini just plays him excellently. The writing is so good. I love like the first fucking shot of the show. You're about to sit down and watch this mob show, and it's just naked green statue. And it's like it just sets you up for the rest of the show. My favorite character though is probably his name's Paulie, right?
Paulie is so great. Yeah. Paulie Walnut.
He's so funny. He's just fun. It's just fun and but also real. Like it gets into how Paulie comes into existence, like you get into understand the type of guy that is a Paulie because you don't know a Paulie in real life, that person is just like such a character, but like you walk down the streets of New York and you see 50,000 Paulies,
he was an actual gangster, Tony Sirico.
In that case, I'm not saying Paulie, I'm saying the other guy because that's no.
But
the guy from no, I'm saying Paulie. Yeah, Paulie's the right guy, right? And then the guy from the E Street Band is the little guy.
Is Silvio.
Silvio, that's it. Yeah, it's been a little while since I watched the show.
Did you mean Silvio?
Been binging it.
Did you mean Silvio, not Paulie?
No, I meant Paulie.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Paulie's
the taller one.
But yeah, Paulie is he's the guy who's always I've been stabbed in the heart, and he's always like saying like goofy shit. He's the dumbest one. I think Paulie's the dumbest one, but he's also the funniest. I saw a clip when Meadow. So Tony's in the hospital. He's all banged up, and he's like on a respirator and stuff. And Meadow is taking him into the hospital, and she's like, "Okay, so he's in a coma right now. So we all got to make sure to say positive words of affirmations. The doctor said that it might help him out." And Polly's like, all right, sure. And then he walks in and he goes, Maroon, he looks like shit. And then she's like, Uncle Polly, what are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. He just looks so bad. I wasn't ready for this. I love Polly. He's such a funny character, fucking shit up. I was going to say Polly too, but then, all right, since you took Polly, I'll take Christopher. I think Christopher after Polly is like, because he's almost as funny. And, I just love I say that because the scenes between Christopher and Polly are incredible. Like Pine Barrens, the episode where they're stuck in the woods, maybe one of the best television show or the television episodes of all time.
God, you mentioned Meadow Soprano. Meadow Soprano, I had such a crush on Meadow Soprano.
Oh, did you?
I was smitten, TJ. She was top tier for me. In case the actress whose name I now forget who plays Meadow Soprano
I can't remember her name either. I can't she's listening right now. I can't remember her name either. But
do you have anyone famous that follows you? Because I have like a couple like not even C, like F-list celebrities, but it always like cracks me up when I see them in my
no one interesting like actors or anything like that. Joyanne Reed follows me and from MSNBC. Okay. I remember seeing that, and maybe a couple more like news people I see, but yeah, who do you have that you think?
I have the guy, I forget his name, he plays like a bunch of like characters, but he's the guy in Office Space who's like the next door neighbor with the
the guy who wanted the threesome.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, all right.
So he's a fan of mine. James Stamos's
John Stamos.
John Stamos' wife is a big fan of mine.
I don't know who his wife is.
But she has like her own thing. She's like I think she has a podcast. She does like charity work a lot. Like she's a person herself. But yeah, no, and there's always like a couple that just like pop on there like, oh, that's weird. The girl, I'm a big Overwatch fan, and the voice actress for Diva likes my shit a lot, and I was like, cool. But yeah, no, it's always weird. Like it's weird when like someone who is actually famous like interacts with you. Like it's just like, this is weird. It is so weird being in our position.
Yeah.
Because the people who are watching us right now, and by the way, we're stalling while we wait for our guest.
I know.
Like, we're not doing the normal show. But like the people like watching this right now, and the people who watch our shit, they're like, oh, these guys, they're so popular. They get like all these views and whatever, and we're like, we're just normal people.
I know.
My life is not much different than anyone else's, except I waste my time doing this. That is it. But like, there's real famous people.
Yeah. I think the most famous person who interacted with my stuff was Andy Richter. I think because I remember he like said something that I said was funny or whatever. So I think that is this like as high.
Adam Conover has liked my shit. That's like one of the biggest, one of my biggest compliments. I get Adam Conover on the show. If you're listening, Adam, we'd love to have you as a guest.
Hook us up. So
he actually, did I tell you, I was on this show, and fuck, what was it I said? Oh my God, it's gonna come to me. But like afterwards, someone tagged me on one of his posts that he made the same day where he said the same exact thing.
Oh shit.
And I was like, oh shit. It was about the election, but I forget exactly what it was. I gotta look it up, but I was like, yes, Adam. I commented. I was like, "Yo, join the show if you ever want to."
All right. Well, so it's actually fine that Ate's. I don't know. He was messaging. He said he's going to try to pop on. I don't know what the problem is. Oh, there he is.
As if on cue.
Hey, look at that, my man. What is going on?
We're talking about me. I like that.
No, we were just. I was just saying. We were stalling while you were hopping on here. But I still want to bring up a couple of fun topics here. Well, not fun, but just stuff that I didn't text either of you guys. But I don't know if you guys saw, but Donald Trump was. I don't know if you guys. How you been out there? Sorry, we didn't introduce you. This is Destructo Jugo, everybody. How you doing, man? How things going?
Oh, dude, I'm stoked. I'm sorry I was late. I was trying to figure out this fucking computer stuff.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm excited to be here, man. I love chatting about this stuff with you guys.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I can tell already. All right. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Donald Trump was named Person of the Year.
Oh, he was officially named Person of the Year.
Yeah, he was named Person of the Year.
So funny. Time Magazine just chasing that Hitler clout.
Well, I mean, this is okay. So I saw the Hitler clout. All right, remind me of that. Actually, I have something to say about that. All right. So I saw this post, I think it was on Twitter or something, and it said, should Donald Trump have been Person of the Year? I was like, who else would it be? I like, you tell me a better candidate. For what, Taylor Swift? Well, who are we gonna name person of the year in 2024? I can't think of someone. I mean, look, Donald Trump has cemented himself into our brains. Everyone on Earth, well, everyone in the United States will remember Donald Trump till the day they die. They will. He's a two-term president now. I mean, I would have a hard time arguing anyone else who deserved that title than Donald Trump. Doesn't mean you like him. Doesn't mean he's a good person. But I'm open for candidates for who would be.
Okay. Well, before I start listing candidates, I want to know what are the requirements for person of the year? Like, what's the
Time
biggest
Magazine
name of the
says
year?
You are.
No, no, mine. Like my personal was like biggest story of the year. Donald Trump winning the election. When I was like, I don't know who decide how to phrase this, but we didn't expect him to win, and we're pretty in the know here. And like, common sense says he shouldn't have won, and he fucking did. Like we would talk about how the Republican Party was out of money. We would talk about like all the insane shit he said after January 6th, after 34 convictions, 91 indictments, and still fucking won. I'd love to see anyone else stack up against that for a person of the year. I don't know how you can't.
I have somebody. I think if we're really talking about person of the year in terms of who has made the biggest impact socially, globally, it's actually like Elon Musk. It's not okay. That's a good one. It's not much of a contest.
Okay. All right.
They're like, let's not forget that part of the reason, and I would say a very substantial part of the reason Trump is president is because of Elon Musk. It's like that he controls one of the biggest social media platforms and one of the biggest sort of like communication platforms on the planet. And he used it. He bought it for, what was it, like 80 billion or something like that, and used it to get a man elected for presidency. He's built different. That's person of the year material as far as I'm concerned.
That's a good one. Yeah, Elon Musk would be. Yeah, that's probably a better choice. Actually, now you say it. Put that argument there. I wasn't expecting that, but yes, Elon Musk would have been a better choice. I think. What do you think, John?
So I agree that's probably the best argument that isn't Donald Trump.
Yeah,
agreed.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing, TJ.
He says agreed.
If I owned a publication, if I owned a magazine, which it was infamously named Adolf Hitler Person of the Year, I would spend the rest of my years attempting to not ever again name someone who might ever become Adolf Hitler level infamous as Person of the Year. And so, I don't know. I would have avoided Donald Trump there, and I would have maybe given it to Elon. But like, I'm sure. Here's the thing. You don't have to do this. You're right, but in terms of like, clout and impact and everything, but I'm sure you could have found, I don't know, some fucking scientist somewhere that like did something that is gonna, revolutionize some shit somewhere. I don't know. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk it because like, what is your upside here naming him Person of the Year? Like, what is your upside?
Well,
you're gonna sell some magazine. You think fucking Trump supporters going out to buy Time magazine?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Well, do you think any scientist is selling magazines? I'm just saying, like,
I don't know. Who fucking buys Time magazine? You have a very good point, TJ.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, and would we be talking about a random scientist? It's like, it's not going to happen. So it's good like point. When people get mad about like man or like sexiest man alive or Caitlyn Jenner as woman of the year, it's all to generate buzz and everything. But as far as justifiable choices, Trump's a pretty good one. You'd have a hard time. Ate brought up a good one, doing better than that.
But that's kind of my question, though. My question is, just sincerely, what are the fucking requirements for Person of the Year for Time? Like, is it just about impact or just about who's talking about this person or sort of like what they are in the zeitgeist of this year, or like are there any moral standards? I mean, clearly there aren't any moral standards.
No,
because they got Hitler and now they got Hitler 2.0. But is that just it? Is it just ranking popularity based on sort of like how influential you were this year? And if that's the case, if that's really what Person of the Year is, and then Trump got it. I can't even be mad at it. Why wouldn't they pick Trump? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. One thing I don't like, so it used to be like Hitler didn't win Person of the Year. Hitler won Man of the Year because that's what it was called back then. And I remember when they changed it from Man of the Year to Person of the Year, I didn't like that. I still don't actually. I wish that it was Man of the Year, or woman of the year if it's a woman winning it, because it just person of the year sounds like shit. It sounds terrible. I hate it. Doesn't roll off the tongue. It's awful. So that's my boomer take right now, is that I want man of the year back, and if it's a woman, woman of the year. I just like how it sounds,
Whichever it is, just it's woman of the year or man of the year. Every year there's just one, and it could be whatever you want it to be. Or that year where they said you're the
my god, do you remember that?
That was so frustrating.
Stupid. The person of the year is you.
That?
Oh, I don't know, but
I think it was like 2016 or something. They didn't want to give it to Trump, so they said you or something like that.
I think it was before that, because it's like you, the American citizen or something, was person of the year. It was dog shit. I know, right? Yeah, so I didn't like that. You find it, John?
2006.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but yeah. And so another one, the reason I said to remember the Hitler thing was Time magazine named Hitler man of the year in 1938 or 39, but there was another magazine that also named Hitler man of the year, and that was Homes and Gardens magazine. I don't know what year that was, but it was like in the 30s or something, and they named Adolf Hitler person of the year. And a lot of people will use this bit of trivia and they'll get it wrong. They'll say that Hitler was named man of the year by Better Homes and Gardens. It's not true. It was Homes and Gardens. And when I found this out, I was like,
Better Homes and Gardens knew better.
So you know what? Well, so what I wondered, I was like, I've never heard of Homes and Gardens. I've heard of Better Homes and Gardens, right? And so I thought, did they change their name from Homes and Gardens to Better Homes and Gardens, or did they have Homes and Gardens and someone else came along and started Better Homes and Gardens? That's
what happened. All the real questions.
That's what happened. So good. Someone came along and came up with Better Homes and Gardens. And I don't know if they did this, but I mean, in my heart, I wish they would have done this. Is that, hey, what makes us better? We did not name Adolf Hitler person the man of the year. That's why we're Better Homes and Gardens. So I have no clue what happened to Homes and Gardens, but that's always my funniest bit of trivia, that Adolf Hitler was named the big boss by Homes and Gardens magazine. So
Homes and Gardens magazine.
Back in like middle school, we had this like, I don't know, it was like a fundraiser for the school called like Valengram or something. It's like for Valentine's. It's like something grams, and like you'd spend $1, you'd send like a Valentine's card or whatever. So we started cheaper grams, which were for 95 cents. And we got in so much trouble, and we were just like, why not? Like, you're clearly have too high a margin on this product.
I love that.
Nuts.
I love that shit. All right, so I think that if the magazine had come out a little bit later, like they probably had these articles and stuff written a while back, but if it had come out a little bit later, I know who my vote for person of the year would have been, and that's our boy Luigi Mangione. So Ate, we haven't heard your take on this yet. So you a fan of our boy Luigi here, or what? What do you think?
Now I want you to like really ask yourself, like, what is Ate a fan of Luigi? Do the fucking course. Bro, I was doing backflips when I saw the video, dude. Fuck. I said, oh, it's serious now. Like, this is the real world. It was, and I don't want to celebrate, extrajudicial killings.
Of course not.
It was one of the coolest things I ever seen in real life. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was cool as fuck. Bro, he pulled out with the hammer, very very calmly, very efficiently. 3-4 shots, he was out of there like a ghost in the night, just out of there. And everything that has developed from the story so far. And I actually wanted to get into this because I saw you guys talking about how some people believe that he might be a patsy. And I'm one of those people. And I saw what you were saying, TJ, about like why you don't think he is. And that was very fair, but I had some counter arguments.
Oh, let's go.
Just based on what I'd seen. But overall, very big fan of what's going on. Not a big fan of where it might lead the country. But at the very least, the initial effect of, the CEOs are scared and the people are overwhelmingly in support of this because of how fucked the system is. Every leftist should be very hopeful about this right now. Every leftist should feel like, okay, this is the opportunity to actually start changing minds and start galvanizing people to what really matters.
Kyle says he's 100% a patsy. It's kind of obvious. So while we're on this, Ate, what are your counter arguments that you believe that our boy's
Okay.
being, well, I guess he's not our boy if he's being set up. He's just a poor bastard who got railroaded by the government.
See, that's where I disagree. I don't think it was the government setup. The government setup. When I say that he was a patsy, or he was a fall guy, I don't even personally mean that he was a fall, because that theory specifically does not make much sense to me, because I can't really find an incentive for the government, whacking the CEO of United Healthcare. Like, that doesn't, they're aligned. There's no reason for that for me. But what I think when I say patsy, I think the government set him up in a sense that they could not find who really did it, and they had to put it on somebody. This is embarrassing. They look crazy. They look ridiculous right now. Everyone in their mama. You saw the Ben Shapiro comments. Fucking where he was in the comments, everybody was like, yo, Ben, no, it's not just the left, it's everybody. And even in the kids' jail cell, everybody, all the inmates are out there supporting it. The government looks crazy right now. So why would they not find somebody to pin this on, so they could just try to sweep this under the rug as quick as possible and let that be that? And the reason I say that it feels like a setup job is because I watched a video of like what was the most professional hit I've ever seen in real life. It was single-handedly the most like fucking Hitman 2 hit I've ever seen. He didn't. Did you see him touch anything on the ground? They said they found his fingerprints at the scene. Where were his fingerprints? What was he touching? And secondly, that's New York. You telling me they were able to isolate his fingerprints in Manhattan, right outside the office of where he? No, I don't see it.
I hadn't heard of it. My guess would be his fingerprint would be on the shell casings. That's just my guess. But I hadn't heard about that. What do you think, John? Well, I guess I already gave my opinion on that. I'm pretty sure yours was similar, but what do you think?
So I'd like to just first state that I think Occam's razor, the most reasonable explanation, is the simplest, and it's that the dude who decided to commit an extrajudicial killing had a few screws loose, and just had a little bit less of them loose than most people who do this sort of thing. But that being said, that from the minute he was caught, I was just like, wait a second. You're telling me, similar to what you were saying, Ate, you're telling me that this guy, who clearly looks like a professional, or at the very least is intelligent enough to behave in a professional manner, quickly get in, get out of the fucking city of New York. Like, at that point, when someone leaves the state, leaves the city, the chances of them getting caught ever plummet astronomically. He could have already been in another fucking country by the time that they got him. And you're telling me that not only did they catch him in a McDonald's in fucking bumfuck PA, but then also he just happened to have the murder weapon on him and a manifesto, which leads off by thanking the fucking feds. Are you shitting me? Again, I'm not in the camp that it's like fake, but of all the conspiracy theories out there, I wouldn't be surprised if this one were real, because you've laid out the case, Ate. It doesn't make sense that like it makes most sense that this guy is maybe even complicit in it, because here's my other thing. If the government wanted to say fuck you, it's this guy, you'd think it would be a dead guy.
That I was right about to go there. They would just kill him, right?
They always kill
that's what I would do. I wouldn't let this guy live to see a courtroom. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have a manifesto written at all. You don't need one. The guy killed someone. So hold on. Can you guys hear this? What is that noise?
It's weird. But
go ahead, John.
What I think is that if they keep him alive and he is a patsy, then they can control the mouthpiece. And here's the real quick way we're going to find this out, guys. Unless the killer literally just had a really specific personal grudge against Brian Johnson, it's pretty clear this killer, if it wasn't Luigi, was making a political statement.
Right.
If it wasn't Luigi, we're about to see another CEO popped while Luigi's in custody. Maybe while he's on like live TV or something. Because that's exactly, if I were the killer and the government was framing someone else, popping someone else.
That was
You
that
know,
your
like,
theory?
that's-
Was that your theory last week, John? I thought you said something like, or someone said something like that this could be a ploy by the cops to lure the real killer out to piss him
No,
off.
I didn't say lure the real killer out. No. But I mean, yeah, they're watching fucking Death Note and they're just like, oh, I got an idea.
Yeah.
No.
I got an idea. To your point, John, about, and here's the thing, and this might be like a controversial opinion, but I don't necessarily think that anybody who commits an extrajudicial killing has necessarily screws loose in the way that we would think that somebody is missing a couple screws. I think there are many instances in which somebody could be fully within their right mind and cognizant of what they're doing and the implications of it, and still commit the action. And so this really does feel like one of those, and it's rare, right? Like I think
like I can't think of, I'm trying to think of a situation where that has happened in America.
It's hard. It's in America, really, it's difficult. By and large, I think like most 99% of any political assassination that's ever happened was because the motherfucker was crazy. Like there was a political motive, maybe, attached to it, but the motherfucker was crazy. This just, there's something about this that feels far too intentional, especially insofar as the police try to learn.
Did the cops do that? Or I didn't know the cops did that.
That would be smart. That'd be smart.
That would be smart. That would be smart. Yeah. I didn't know.
It's like so dumb that
it is dumb enough for exactly. Yeah.
Dumb enough for it to work.
It's like an episode, it's an episode of Seinfeld, and then the Kramer's accidentally there, and then the police arrest him.
And it's like they know. Like look at how the person that did this, whether it's Luigi or whatever the case may be, knows what the conversation was going to turn into as soon as he did it. And now look at it. We are all talking about the awful healthcare system within the United States, and whether or not we're at a tipping point insofar as it being getting violent. I saw so many people with personal stories on every social media about my grandma's claim was denied, my dad's claim was denied, my husband's claim was denied, I lost this person lost a limb, so on and so forth. This was, in my opinion, one of the most, and I think we'll find this out in later as the months go by, this might be one of the most like important assassinations in modern times. Just simply based on how the conversation is being had around it. And so insofar, and so because of that, like, I don't think whoever did this is dumb enough to, like John said, get caught lacking with the fucking gun. And let's be real, that manuscript, it was a 7th grader wrote it. Like
it was bad. That was bad, man. We were talking disappointing that. And you know what? I think, honestly, this is where I think I may have jumped the gun, and we all did, honestly, because everyone referred to it as a manifesto before we saw it. It wasn't a manifesto at all. If anything, it was kind of like a confession letter. Like that would be, if someone said he had a confession letter and I read that, I wouldn't have that reaction. But I was expecting manifesto, and I got 150 words of like, hey, sorry for all the trouble I caused, guys, but I had to do it. I think that I think if it was never called a manifesto, we wouldn't have this reaction. But the fact that it was called a manifesto and that they hid it, like you were saying, John, how they hid it from everybody, and then you saw it, you're like, really? This is what you decided to hide? So I am if like my honest opinion, I don't think that he was set up. I think that he more than likely did it. But I'm not saying that people who think that there's something else on are crazy. I don't, because there's a lot of weird fucking shit about this. A lot of stuff does not add up. But why he had the stuff on him. Hold on. Before I go on this, there's one thing that I can't accept, and our friend Kyle said it, and I think I mentioned it last episode, John, is the argument is that when he says, oh shit, no, good job, TJ. He looks nothing like the 3 guys the police said were the suspect. That one I can't go along with, folks, because he kind of looks like he kind of looks. Yeah, he looks a lot like him.
He looks close enough where I'm like, that could be the same.
I hear this all the time that he looks nothing like the photo. Once again, not saying that's 100% the same guy. It might be the same guy though, right?
The coat thing is way more of smoke than
because my question is,
does look like the guy.
Is that even because I've heard conflicting reports on this? Is that image of the guy with the mask down smiling? Is that even the same guy in the video killing?
So
Brian
I've heard people say, well, this is, I haven't seen any like official thing where the cop said, no, that's not a suspect. I've never seen that like officially. You know how stuff just gets thrown out there. It's like, oh, they're saying that's not the guy, but I haven't seen that anywhere. But I mean, that's the image everyone's thinking of. So yeah, it's kind of similar to that. But the thing with him getting caught, when I first heard that they nabbed him at a McDonald's and he had a backpack with the weapon, the silencer, the manifesto, the written manifesto, I might add. A 26-year-old writing anything on paper, odd. That's strange, right? When is the last time anyone listening has written a page of
that? That does feel like a fucking Inglourious Bastards meme.
You're right, it does. That's so good, John. That's true. Because honestly,
literally.
I mean, like 15 years ago, I remember having to handwrite an essay for the Army. My hand was on fire writing a 2-page essay. It burned. It's just something you don't do anymore, which would explain why it's so short. But I'm saying if he had like something he wanted to get out, you think he would post it somewhere or he would type it up and then just leave for people to find. That would make a lot more sense. And then, of course, I was wondering the same thing everyone else was with why did he have that all that shit on him in the first place? What was he doing 5 days later? My only guess. Say what?
I said, why? Why did he have that shit on him?
The only thing that made sense to me is if he wanted to pop more CEOs. That's the only thing that made sense. I mean, that might not be the case. I don't know, but I couldn't imagine why else he'd have it on him. I mean,
why would he have, unless he was actively going to pop a CEO?
Yes,
in the middle of fucking Pennsylvania. What CEO? The CEO
I don't
know. That's what I'm saying.
Who's in Goods? Like, I don't even know what CEO is going to pop. Here's the conspiracy theory that I have not heard anyone say.
Oh, let's go.
But of all the conspiracy theories, it makes the most sense. And the reason no one has said it is because it's the least interesting.
Okay.
But if I was someone who wanted to kill Brian Thompson for non-political reasons, the thing I would do was put deny deposed date on the fucking bullet.
True.
To make everyone think it was political. Like that's all I'm saying. Like if a conspiracy theory is happening here, I think that's actually the most likely one. A very rich and powerful person killed another very rich and powerful person, and the entire political thing is a smokescreen. That, I think, is the most likely conspiracy theory if I were to put my money on any of them. But again, I like that. I'm in the camp of it's probably true. But also, I find it interesting. It's like, why is he pleading not guilty if he wanted to get caught? That's the other thing that's blowing my mind right now.
He clearly didn't want to get caught.
Then why do you have the fucking murder weapon on him out there? Like,
because apparently he's a dickhead. Sense. Like, I don't.
So it's like that, right? So a lot, like either way, like if you think he definitely did it, or definitely didn't do it, things don't add up either way. Like it really doesn't. Yeah, like if he was just an innocent man that was set up like this, well, why did he have that shit? And honestly, maybe the fifth weirdest thing on here, which is also weird. From those pictures, like when people say that he doesn't look like the guy in the image, I don't buy that. I think he kind of does. But I sure as hell wouldn't be able to spot him wearing a mask at a McDonald's. There's no chance in hell I'd be like, hey, that kind of looks like that. There's no way I'd have thought that. Even if I did, I was like, well, that's insane. I can only see half his face. Unless, oh my God. I bet he removed his mask to flirt with a cashier again.
Yeah, if he was... No.
Cashier's the one that reported it.
I'm gonna need images of everybody at that McDonald's in Pennsylvania, because if you're willing to tell me you're a wanted fucking killer on the loose, this is when he flirted before. He wasn't wanted.
He wasn't a killer yet. Yeah,
but you know the motherfuckers got the picture of you flirting the first time. What bitch in there is bad enough to make you? Pull your mask out the second time.
Listen, friend of the show, Natalie Benson Vega, she was pointing out, she's like, look, that doesn't surprise me at all. We Italians, the blood runs hot. I can just imagine. I imagine that Luigi, he was thrown up to McDonald's, actually put the hoodie back on, put the same pose and everything, just like in there. That's his flirting pose, and he's went right into flirt mode. And the girl's like, "Oh my God, this is the guy." That's the only way it makes sense to me is if he did that literal, the same pose and everything. And the reporting was weird too, because he wasn't recognized by the person who called in. I think it was. There was this lady who recognized him and said, I think that's the guy. And she talked to someone else and he called in. I think that's what happened with this, but go ahead. Ade.
She's not getting her fucking money.
Neither I know that I get the money, which fuck that. Yeah.
No fucking coins.
But also, I think it just ain't fucking adding up. How long does one stay in a motherfucking McDonald's? Like, you're telling me that they called, they took the time, they recognized him, they discussed it, they called the police, and again, in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Pennsylvania, and then the police showed up before he left the how long has anyone ever spent in a goddamn McDonald's? Like, these police just chomping at the bit, like, oh yeah, we're gonna chase. Do you know how many fake fucking calls they got? Like,
yes. Well, maybe not in Pennsylvania. I guess, like, they probably didn't get in Pennsylvania fake calls. Yeah,
but like,
still, but that's kind of the point, though. They'd be like, "Bro, nah, he not no fucking Pennsylvania." Like, if I was a cop in Pennsylvania, somebody's like, "Yo, I think nothing bumfuck Pennsylvania where nothing fucking happens." What are the odds that you actually found the guy? I'm not checking that shit. I'm not checking that shit.
Yeah, that would be low on the priority list. Like, what are the odds that you recognize? I saw so they took pictures of him at the McDonald's. I don't know if I saw that, but we was sitting down. He was eating a hash brown or something. He removed the mask. He was eating a hash brown and shit. And so I remember talking to someone was like, well, what was he doing at a McDonald's? Like, why was he just like sitting there at a McDonald's? And my only thought was like, usually if I ever go inside a McDonald's, which is rare these days, usually I'll order it or I'll go through the drive-thru. But if I ever go sit inside a McDonald's, it's because I'm trying to use the free Wi-Fi. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the only time that I'll go and sit inside a McDonald's. And I thought, well, maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know. I know a lot of the stuff.
Rich, boy. He got unlimited data.
Then I found out he was rich.
Why is he at a McDonald's? Is another good point. I only eat McDonald's if I absolutely have to.
All right. Well, we've had this discussion before. McDonald's is delicious.
That's right.
It is. It tastes good.
No, TJ. It's mediocre, and you're just loyal.
Oh, no. Listen. I say this all the time. John's heard me give this speech before that a lot of you folks are too good to be common folks like I am, but I'm the representative of the working man here. And McDonald's tastes good. Everyone says it tastes like shit, but everyone keeps eating it. Everyone keeps eating it because
it's ubiquitous. It's fucking everywhere.
Well, there's a reason it is. It's genetically engineered to be tasty and addictive. And it is. Like, I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, when you bite into McDonald's, sure, it's not a gourmet meal, but it is good, and you like the taste, and you go back.
I disagree, TJ. I don't think it's good. I understand it's chemically engineered to get people hooked on it. I eat it as an adult. As a kid, I liked it. As an adult, it's like, what is this garbage going into my mouth?
I think we're more socially engenered to enjoy it than we are fucking chemically, dude. It's not that.
All right, guys. Well, once again, you guys speaking for the PMCs. I'm speaking for the everyday Joe Blow American who love their double quarter pounders and it tastes great. Now it makes you feel like garbage. Like eating McDonald's makes me feel horrible, so I don't do it often because of that reason. But if I had no adverse effect, I'd do that shit every fucking day. Of course I would. And I also want to point to another possible motivation. If Luigi did it, which we don't know, hopefully he did, because goddamn, that's cool. But if Luigi did it, I don't know if you guys saw that he had like a back surgery, I think this summer, and he disappeared for a few months. His friends didn't know where he was. They were reaching out to him saying, hey man, where you been? No one can find you. You're supposed to be in a wedding. We got to know what's going on. And I was like, okay, so the back surgery may have had something to do with this. We're not sure. But some fucking traitor, someone who must have hated Luigi, put out this post or something, or a theory. Oh, this one, I'd say a theory on why they think Luigi did it. And they're saying that Luigi, you see that? They said that Luigi Mangione's back surgery left him unable to have sex. Now, once again, that's just what someone said. We don't have any doctors note on that or whatever. I don't even know if it's true. But what kind of fucking snake? Why? I mean, if I found out that a buddy of mine was the most popular person in the country, even if that were true, I would never go in front of a microphone and say that. Why would you slander our boy Luigi like that?
Yo, he gets no pussy, everybody. That's why he did it. He get no pussy.
Right. Oh, I hate it.
DJ, there's a very simple explanation to this. It's just like, giving a fake number. It's like, oh, sorry. I know I'm an incredibly attractive, incredibly wealthy man. My back. Can't do it. Just gonna let you down easy.
Oh, you know who would? I just thought someone who would do it. It'd be like a girl who's really into Luigi, and she finds out that everyone in the nation really, really wants it. That's true. It's like, oh, sorry, folks, nothing we can do there. I know. I don't know. What did we see? I want to see what the people say over here. I'm thinking he's a fall guy. A lot of people think he's a fall guy. Are we in the minority here, John? Let's see. There are 2 other photos.
You guys kind of are. Like Twitter kind of thinks this guy's a fall guy for real.
Oh, we'll see. Yeah.
So here's the thing. If he was a fall, this is the other confusing thing. There's so much. Here's the thing. If things all didn't add up in the same direction, I would be like more likely to believe it's a fall guy. It's just they're not adding up in a very scattered manner where it's like, okay, I need to learn more information here. But one of the biggest things that makes me think he's not a fall guy is that he has pled not guilty, but he also isn't saying I'm innocent and being set up. And if I don't know, if I were the fall guy, that's what I'd be saying. Can't prove he was there. Like that's his line of defense.
But his lawyer's cooking though.
His lawyer's great. His lawyer's great. His lawyer's great. Our only disappointment, our only disappointment in this guy is that his name is not Mario. That is the only thing that would make this better. It would be perfect. Then I'd be like, okay, this is some sort of simulation thing. But one of my main reasons, and what I've been saying is that if they're gonna pick a fall guy, why would you pick a guy from a rich family that owns like media? They own like radio stations, and they have a ton of fucking money going back a century. That's not who I would want to start a fight with someone whose family would like have the actual resources to push against this. I pick some fucking nobody who couldn't put up a fight. So like if you're actively choosing, say what?
That's very true. I said that's very true.
If you're actively choosing, he's like the last person you would choose. And also, he's hot as fuck. You're going to have the public against you. I don't know. It's just like I can't get over that part that I certainly wouldn't do that. Then again, I guess cops aren't brilliant, but that's not the route I would take.
TJ, I think I said this on the show. And kind of what I said earlier, they're controlling the mouthpiece. Like that's the Scott's Hamburgers. Oh, we've missed you, Scott.
Our guy.
Scott's Hamburgers. Hey, you guys want to pop a CEO? You guys want to pop a CEO?
We're not snitching.
Travel to another state, get a cheap meal, and not get caught. Come to Scott's in Bixby, Oklahoma. There's no rats in our kitchen. Look, man, there's no rats in our kitchen. It's a dynamite line. Scott's Hamburgers in Bixby, Oklahoma. Real place. We've looked it up. It's a great. We haven't been there personally, but I'm sure the food is delicious. Thank you so much, Scott. All right,
I cannot wait. I'm gonna find some excuse to get to Bixby, Oklahoma.
God damn it!
Just for Scott's Hamburger.
We got to do a live show from Bixby, Oklahoma one day.
It'll be the first time we meet in person at Bixby's Burgers. Scott's Burgers in Bixby's, Oklahoma.
Oh
my bad.
Fucking God.
Anyway, as I was saying, it makes sense. Let me play this story out for you and tell me if it's crazy. Luigi's like bumping fucking shoulders with all his dad's friends at the country club, and Luigi's actually like, a progressive. He's not like the other rich folk. And one of the fucking like FBI dudes is there, and they're like, wait a second.
No,
this guy understands that he looks like the killer and that everyone's thirsting after the killer. And we know his lawyers could probably get him off. What if you were the fall guy?
He volunteered?
Like he's intentionally being the fall guy because the FBI would rather have a fall guy that they can control. And he's just taking he's like, yeah, no, I'll be the most popular guy in school.
He's going to go to prison for like...
No, I think TJ, I don't think this guy's going to prison. I think he's too rich to go to prison. And if he does go to prison, it'll be
Goodfellas prison or something.
He's clearly he's Italian and rich. He's gonna go to the mob prison. He's gonna join his Uncle Tony. He's gonna get his
Uncle Tony.
Wow, we're just wildly speculating.
You know what?
Like, these guys do it all the time, TJ. They take deals, they go to prison. It's part of the lifestyle.
I didn't even mean to make like an Italian joke there when I said Goodfellas prison. That's fine. I did not mean to do that. I was thinking like, oh yeah, the prison.
Could you picture a more like clearly part of the mob guy than Luigi Mangione?
Oh,
why do you think this random 26-year-old knows how to pop a guy so well? Come on,
no, right? But hold on, you're kind of spitting a little bit because wait a minute.
Why does he? Because John, you're right. That shooting, like one of the best things.
He's an informant. They just he's playing a rat in a different way.
One of the best. There's no rats in our kitchen, Scott. My God, I'm gonna remember that for a long time. That was so good. But John, you had mentioned it when he shot that guy. The weapon jammed. He cleared the jam. His hands weren't shaking. I mean, how many people like actually know how to clear a jam in a firearm, like, and do it that smoothly and just keep going? Yeah, it's like the one thing that will lead me to believe he might be set up is if we dig into his past and he has no firearm experience whatsoever, because the guy who fired that weapon did. The guy, I'm not saying he's a professional, contract killer or whatever, but he didn't, like, his hands weren't shaking. He wasn't nervous. It was just bam, 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 done. Yeah, he knows his way around firearm, which does fall into line with John's mob theory. That's pretty good. That the connections, baby. I don't know.
I saw TikTok. I just have to shout out because it was one of the funniest things I ever saw. That it's like the mob's calling Luigi, and they're like, "You killed the UHC CEO? We told you to kill UGCO." Like, it was one of the funniest TikToks I've ever seen in my entire life.
That was great. Yeah, I saw that one. There's a guy on TikTok who does Sopranos impersonations. Speaking of Sopranos again, he's been doing them for a long time, and he did a whole thing of Tony and Christopher and Paulie talking about Luigi Mangione. It's hilarious. The guy crushes that shit. I don't know. In this house, Luigi Mangione is an American hero. In the story. All right, what do we say here? They didn't so much pick a fall guy as they found someone who looked enough like one of the three people they said were the killer. You don't need to be a genius to be a villain. Okay. All right. Who knows? Well, we'll see. I don't know.
If that's the case, Cal, why isn't he screaming to the hills that he's being set up?
Yeah, he was yelling. He was yelling stuff being pulled from the cop car, and it was. I mean, I would have been yelling. This is a setup. I didn't do it.
Right? Said, it doesn't. If it all added up in the same direction, I'd be with you guys. It just.
What did he say when he was being pulled to the cop car?
I can't remember, but it was something like benign, like this isn't freedom or something like that. I can't remember.
That's what I'm saying. He says the dumbest shit.
Yeah,
like he's not. That doesn't sound like the words of a guy that just popped a fucking CEO either. I mean, so no matter which way you slice it, there's no
which is why Occam's razor, the guy just has
some screws loose, like
and it doesn't have to make sense.
Fucking believe it.
Well, look, I mean the theatrics that went, because the reason I didn't think it was a contract killer was because of the pageantry and stagecraft that went into the killing. Like putting words on the casings, that's not contract, because that is not professional. Or the monopoly money, not professional. It's just so.
Well, that's why I said if it was a contract killing and wanted to distract from the fact it was a contract killing, that's exactly what they would do.
Yeah, that's not an Occam's razor answer, though, right? Yeah,
that is A. That's not an Occam's razor answer, and B. So let me follow that bunny that you just landed on the ground. The idea that some other rich asshole could have hired a hitman to kill the CEO and do it in such a way that would make it seem like a political move. Okay, why would another rich asshole inadvertently want to start a class war? Because that's where we're getting. I mean, we're talking about Luigi Mangione, but Luigi Mangione, whether he did it, whether he didn't do it, the CEO of United Healthcare is dead, and everybody.
Wait, no, I got this. I'll tell you, I already got this.
All right.
What? Think of assassinations that happened recently.
2
political assassination attempts. Like, if you're just like a CEO and you're just like, oh, what could distract from this what's going to look like a hit? I'm going to make it look like a political assassination. Because that's what's been in the news the last 6 months with the 2 Trump assassination attempts. And as CEO brain, you don't understand the people are going to like fucking make this a thing. Like you're right. You think because the Trump assassinations, it was like the guy didn't create any following. It didn't happen. You just thought it would be a 24-hour news cycle, just dominate it for a little bit, and then it's going to go away.
Okay.
That's not what's happening here. And a CEO would not understand that.
It's true. They don't. The CEOs really lack self-awareness. Like genuinely, like the elite sincerely lack like understanding of how the real world works. It's baffling. So I feel that. I feel that. However, in your theory, where does the guy they caught fit into it and his manifesto and what he's been saying so far? Where does he fit into this concept of?
Also a fall guy. You do a couple years with you do a couple years in Goodfellas prison, and then you get out and we'll pay you whatever. I don't know. Again, this is all conspiracy theories. None of them are fucking rock solid. And as I said, again, I'm in the camp that it's probably him, but this is still fun speculation. It's also one of the things, guys, any more conspiracy theories? Because I have another topic I want to talk about related to this guy.
No, I'm good.
Well, okay. I was gonna like talk about the conspiracy thing. Well, about the topic, not necessarily this, but there's a movie called Basic. John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's not a good movie, but I love it. And it's about murders and everything and trying to find the causes. And John Travolta has a quote that always stuck in my mind where he said, "Murder is basic. There's no grand conspiracies, no cover-ups when it comes to murder. It's always basic." And I think that's true most of the time. Most of the time it is. And even with ones like this where, it's like, the shell casing said deny, defend, oppose. The suspect is a guy who recently had a surgery, who had like weird political. A guy commented that he had dartboard politics, which is, I love that expression. That is just like, it's all over the fuck. I don't know. That kind of makes sense to me. But outside of that basic model, it looks a lot more weird and complex. But sorry, John, what were you gonna say?
Well, okay. So just to speak to that for a sec, the fact that the words were wrong on the shell casings, that's one of the biggest things to me that makes me think this is like the real thing. Because one is like, okay, you're telling me that this is the fucking like this guy wanted to make this big fucking political statement and kill people, and this is his manifesto. That's one of the biggest pieces of evidence to say this is a setup to me. But then it's like, well, we do know that the words on the shell casings were wrong. So like, is this just a guy who thought it through a little bit? Enough to make us think that he wasn't one of the, because as soon as I heard that, I was like, those are the wrong words. That's weird. Like, it's weird that they're the wrong words. And it's like, he's going to go through the trouble of using his fucking 3D printer, but he doesn't want to do the research, or he's a fucking STEM major, guys. He doesn't care about the words of the communication.
The language.
He wants to make it look cool. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to say, I hate the people who are like,
you're gonna stop there, John. I thought the sentence was over. Go ahead.
No. I hate the people who are like, oh, how dare you celebrate this? Like, go fuck yourself. Eat the biggest stick in the world, throw it up, and then eat it again. It is. I don't understand how to communicate to people, and you know what? This is a cross fucking pollination thing, but a cross population thing. But it's usually liberal fucking moderate white people who are like, oh, how dare you laugh at this thing? And it doesn't have to be this thing. It's any fucking thing. But it's like they refuse to understand that laughter is a release of pain, that people use comedy and laughter and camaraderie over dark subjects to release the pain that they feel around them. Not people, there's people who are like, yeah, no, let's start the fucking class war. Don't get me wrong. Those people exist. But that is the very, very small minority of people. Most people laughing at this don't even understand what the class war is. I mean, innately do, but they don't fucking understand it academically.
Right.
And so, like, they're just laughing because we all have this communal fucking pain. When your boss, gets hit in the balls, and it doesn't mean that you're advocating for people to get hit in the balls, to hit their balls in the balls because you laugh. It's like, oh, guys, remember when our boss got in the balls? It's really fucking funny. Fuck that guy. That's what this
Fuck that guy.
And, like, I understand, oh, he's dead, but, like, we're inundated with death and suffering in the news every goddamn day. And this is the thing that you're going to clutch your pearls about. This guy who is directly responsible for much of that death and suffering, like, go fuck yourselves. Get off your high horse and just be a human. Like, oh, my God. Like, It pisses me off. That was my rant.
I agree. I want to jump in because there is a lot of false equivalency when we talk about this, because a lot of people are like, oh, if you're celebrating this, you're celebrating anybody could just kill anybody for any reason. No, wait a minute. Because I need you to understand, fuck that guy. Because like things don't always have to apply to everybody at all the time. And this is why I've always been a Kantian hater. I've hated Immanuel Kant ever since I was a kid.
Thank you.
I fucking hate the categorical. Bro, fuck the categorical imperative oh my god, fuck that shit so much.
We're about to have a whole other type of discussion here.
because it's so devoid of so much necessary context and nuance to hold positions like that. When we are clowning and giggling at the assassination of this CEO and laughing about it and saying Luigi Mangione is our hero, like you said, it is an expression. Like it's glib, it's dark, but it is a release of something that we all collectively understand, an experience that we all have. I haven't met a single person in this country that would look to me in my face and tell me the healthcare system is fine and that like big healthcare is good and great and it works for everybody. I think that's one of the most, like, insofar as like sociopolitical experiences, that is one of the most universal.
Yeah.
And it is and it's literally the baseline for any sort of like class or political awakening that you could sort of like encourage from a right winger or a liberal, is literally just like point to the healthcare system and be like, this is why capitalism is super duper fucked. And so insofar as laughing at that and expressing joy at that, it's cool. It's like it kind of filled me with hope, as bogus as it sounds, the fact that because I was very afraid that the reaction was going to be incredibly polarized. I knew that like leftists were going to be, vibing with it and rocking with it, but I was very afraid that the sort of like Ben Shapiro's of the world and the right wing commentators, the ones who control the narratives on their side, were going to frame this in such a way that would have had their viewers also agreeing with them. I was so surprised to find out that their viewers were like, nah, wait a minute. And it's only liberal ideology that in this conversation right now, because the far right wingers, the conservatives, they're locked into, it's only liberal ideology, which in my opinion is the most spineless, vapid, banal, least fulfilling, least interesting of political ideologies. The one more interested in, like, the one least interested in actual real world context, and only interested in liberal ideas insofar as fucking making things universal. Those are the only ones that care. And fuck those guys. It's legitimately fuck those guys, because they're not interested in the real world. They're really not. That's what I learned about liberals. They're not interested in the real world. They're interested more in ideas than any other political group.
Yeah, they're interested in the ideas, and I'd say they're even more interested in just, hey, look how good of a person I am. I'm such a good person. I am smart and I am good. I wouldn't dream of gloating over the death of someone so horrible. I mean, like it's like those people who say stuff like, well, I don't like how McDonald's tastes. I think McDonald's tastes like garbage. All those plebs who love McDonald's.
Bro, what a dick.
I don't know anything about that. No, but it's like people who just like bragging about how good and how pure and how wholesome they are. That's their entire ideology. It's like, it's just, once again, it's why they fall. It's why they fall so often for the Lucy with the football tricks with the Republicans. Like, have you guys seen that, how they're all cozying up to Republicans now? They're all saying, "Oh, well,
John Fetterman's on True Social.
John Fetterman,
pardon of Donald Trump."
Oh,
John Fetterman's not a fucking liberal.
Well, I mean, well, then again, we could say this about multiple Democrats and everything, or pushing forward. It's just like how, God, this is, I wonder this a lot, where like the people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, or even Donald Trump or whatever, I think they're actually the smart ones. I've come to this cold hard realization that, your values don't really seem to matter. like actual fighting for something good doesn't seem to. Honestly, having strongly held principles doesn't seem to matter either. It's all about putting on a show, and you're rewarded for it. So if you know that's the case, and you know that fighting for anything good and representing the people beneath you, and you're trying to bring them up, if that gets you nowhere, why not just be consumingly and hilariously evil? Why not? Right? I mean, it's hard. It's kind of hard to argue against this, especially when the victories that you see from the liberals. This is one that I don't know if I remember telling you about this, but actually it was a long time ago. It was when Kirsten Sinema was being sworn in to be senator in Arizona. And I remember this picture going around Twitter. I saw it 100 times in one day, where it showed Kirsten Sinema and she was raising her right hand to be sworn in. She was being sworn in by Vice President Mike Pence. And all the captions said, "Look how uncomfortable Mike Pence looks, swearing in the first openly bisexual member of the Senate." And I saw the picture. I said, he looks like Mike Pence. He doesn't look uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is just, that's
Mike Pence always looks uncomfortable. He always looks like he's about to take a shit.
Yeah. And I was like, that just looks like Mike Pence. What are you talking about? But I saw so many libs just gloat. I was like, look, I'm glad we got our first. I didn't know anything about Kirsten at the time. I'm glad we got our first only bisexual member of the Senate, but I don't care that she makes Mike Pence look. That's what it is. They really thought it was great. Like, it was a dunk. It was a win that they made Mike Pence uncomfortable for 30 seconds. I don't give a shit. I don't care at all. I care about actual policy getting across, but they're more impressed with the show they put on, and it's kind of obnoxious.
I have like so many things. I'm just gonna fucking machine gun rattle. First, what you said, there is this has shown that there is again, just proving my theory that I've been espousing over years, and maybe confirmation bias, but like it's as wealth inequality increases, there is more civil conflict. That is just a fact. And when that happens, you start to see less left versus right, and you start to see horseshoe theory is dubious, but it's based in some reality. You start to see the left versus right distinction leave and the up versus down distinction begin. And who fucking loves Luigi? All of the anti-establishment types. It's across the political spectrum. Who fucking hates Luigi? The goddamn establishment people. Who fucking loves, oh my God, a bisexual representation in the Senate? The fucking liberal, moderate, establishment, rich, white, college-educated people. You know who fucking hates that? Both us on the left and fucking conservatives. Like, there is a political realignment happening. And if the fucking Democrats don't realize that, they are going to continue to get their asses kicked. Anyway, another couple fucking thoughts. Ate, I absolutely love you because you just, you lull me into a false sense of security. Because like when I talk, like I'm shooting the shit, I have a certain cadence, and I'm definitely talking more like my normal self. And then when I get into more academic discussion, I definitely have a whole other voice and persona that I put on. I do it naturally. You go from talking shit about McDonald's to talking about Kantian philosophy as if nothing changed. And I to speak to that Kantian philosophy, I love that you bring that up because this is such a clear indication of how wrong that principle is. Because the people who are like, oh, killing's always bad. It's like, go fuck yourself. Because if you actually believed that, you would be a goddamn Nelson Mandela-like revolutionary against the status quo. Because so much more killing happens. And all of the people I know who my Kantians are, of like the people, like, I call them the intelligent conservatives that I like to talk to and debate with to like get the other side that can actually like express it. And like a lot of them are fucking Kantians. And it's the same fucking concept. It's like, oh, well, murders, how dare you do this? It's wrong. It's like, but like, you understand that you're just looking at the wallpaper here and you're not looking at what's behind it. Like you can't make any actual evidence-based argument that fucking Luigi has done more harm to the human race than fucking Brian Thompson. You just can't. Right. It's not fucking possible. So if you're going to sit there and say murder is wrong, I'm like, okay, I'll agree with you. I'm a fucking pacifist. I always advocate for nonviolent revolution. Right. Not necessarily because I think it's morally wrong to have violent revolution against an oppressive system, but because it has a higher likelihood of being successful. That's why I advocate for it. That being said, if you're going to sit there and tell me, hey, all murder is wrong, then you better be fucking having 1,000 times more criticism for Brian Thompson and his ilk than you do for Luigi for killing him. And if you don't do that, you don't think all murder is wrong. You think some murder is worse than others. You don't have a categorical imperative. If everyone behaved like Brian Thompson, no one could behave like Brian Thompson. And Kant would think that was wrong too. So fuck you. That's all I'm saying. I hope we have some philosophy nerds in the fucking comments right now who appreciated that, because I'm sure a lot of people are just like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Like, you guys want to hear more discussions about Immanuel Kant? Stay after the show. We'll discuss him a whole lot more. But
Dude,
all right. Oh shit. Fuck. Wolfie just scratched me in the balls. God damn.
Wolfie is a fan of Immanuel Kant.
I know.
That's not like what I had to say.
That would be funny. No, he was sitting on here and
he's a pussy.
He's a pussy.
He's a pussy.
No, he slipped off and he like reached for a minute and scratched. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. Okay, all right. God, I knew we'd do this. I knew we would spend like half the show talking about Luigi.
I could spend the other half of the show talking about it.
Say what, John?
I could spend the other half of the show talking about it too.
It's a huge topic. It's a topic worthy of like a 2-3 hour conversation. There's just so much there. Like there's the Luigi part of it all, and then there's the like we're all happy that a CEO of United Healthcare is dead part. And those are two separate conversations, and they're both really fascinating.
I've never seen, because we always talk, TJ, how like we're in the minority. I never expected this to be such a majority opinion. Like,
right.
And I understand we're online in a bubble, and like the online bubble is different than the real world, but like, damn, like every like normal person I know is like, yeah, go Luigi. Like it's insane the amount. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life.
This is the closest I've seen to like a Jesse James phenomenon in this nation. I have never seen so many people like, yeah, I'm back in the murderer. We're in. I mean, I haven't seen this in my lifetime. And so, Jesus, we'll get to the topic, I swear. But I wanted to ask Ate, since he's here. We were discussing this the other day, Ate, that everyone hates our healthcare system. We all do. It's weird to me that conservatives do. I couldn't tell you like what the fuck they want. I mean, like they want it.
They don't want universal health care.
They don't want that. They want what we have, but worse. They don't want Obamacare. they want companies to be able to deny you because of pre-existing conditions. I mean, I guess that's what they want because they didn't want it to go away.
Thing, I actually don't know what I know what the Republicans say, the politicians say. I don't know what like your fucking anti-establishment Joe Rogan MAGA guy says. Like I really don't know.
That's what they don't. But they do know one thing. I don't want government-run healthcare. Like that's what they all say.
They don't want communism.
Exactly. So that's what I was going to ask. I said, what do you think? Because John and I I'm really mad about this. Whenever I see this, like when we're talking about now, it's like, oh, everybody across a political spectrum, they hate it. Then what the fuck does the right want? Please tell me. I'm in. I'd love to hear your answer because you don't want a public option. You don't want universal health care. You want to, like, what do they always say? They say destroy the lines between the states and increase competition. Yeah. You have no idea what you're talking about. So, basically the question we're asking here, do you think that we are on the precipice of getting universal health? Because I'm not convinced that we are. I'm not. What do you think, Ante?
Oh, dude, thank you for asking. This is going to kind of be a long-winded answer because it goes into something that's been kind of my special interest for the past like month now. And so as far as politics goes, which is like the deep propaganda that has resulted. So I was talking to my friends about this and telling them that the Cold War, or like World War II and the Cold War, is the most important event in the history of it shaped everything that about the way the world functions. The United States, the Middle East, everything about the way the world functions came from this Cold War of ideologies between communist Russia, the USSR, and the United States. And it was a battle of propaganda in ways that were not even like completely apparent at the time and are just now, like we're just now starting to fully grasp just how deep the propaganda goes. And it's and the battle of ideology goes so deep that it did affect how Americans for decades up until this point view things like communism and socialism and things that they consider to be communism and socialism, whether those things are objectively good for everybody or not. And so are we ready for universal healthcare? Like, is that a possibility? Dude, I don't think so. The propaganda is too deep. The soil is too red. It's way, way, way too red. They don't like the United States healthcare system. They know that. Innately. But the idea of the concept of a free universal healthcare option that the government pays for is something that, on an intellectual level, they just cannot. Their brains are not wired to accept it. Like, it is a really, really, really big task for a conservative to break out of that. TJ, like, there's not too many of there's a good amount of them, but there's not too many conservatives turn full-on leftists, because breaking out of that, it's easy to like turn leftists in the social ways, to be pro-LGBT, to be okay with I'm saying trans people and things of that nature, but like class and like economics is a completely different battleground. It's completely different, because there's just so much propaganda against any form of socialism or communism that came from the Cold War, that these motherfuckers, I doubt even if you told a right winger that like told them all the ways in which a universal healthcare system would benefit all of us, including them, including their grandma, including their child, they'd be like, nah, it's communism, can't rock with it. That's what I'd be seeing in the comments on Twitter. The motherfuckers be like, it's communism. Dude, that's fucking commies. We don't want that shit. So short answer, absolutely fucking not. We're absolutely fucking not, dude.
Yeah,
we're not nowhere close.
That's what I think too. John disagrees with us, so I'll let John hop in too. But I'll say something to piggyback on what you just said there. I'd say is that conservatives, like, it doesn't matter when you tell them, well, honestly, anything, but like when you break down the logic and the economics of this, and the reason is because, like, listen, I hate the capitalists, but gotta hand it to them. Excellent century of propaganda they put up ever since the Russian Revolution. Yeah, Mike got like game like yeah, I recognize when they did a good job, but
recognize this game.
They did, yeah, right. It's incredible. And so, as a propagandist myself, I have to tip my cap to how well they've done. But the thing is, it's like they've convinced 3 generations of conservatives now that embracing socialism, or God forbid communism, in order to do that, you need to like reject your patriotism. Like that, I mean, it's literally like renouncing your citizenship to the United States to say, oh no, I'm gonna embrace this new economic model. Wild that you would tie an economic model to your love of your nation. Identity. Insane that worked, but it worked really well. So, but John, I know you disagree. What do you think?
Okay, so I disagree with this on a couple levels. I'll tell you, I'm wondering, how old are you?
24.
No, he's gonna unk you. What the fuck here? He's gonna unk you.
He's gonna little bro me.
Holy shit! He was like, all right, then rub his hands.
Let him cook.
So I feel like when it comes to, because I think universal healthcare is, of the socialist policies, the first one we will get. And I think one of the reasons for this, you're right. The Cold War, very good propaganda, but like, it's not like America was the only capitalist country propagating this propaganda. Every one of our allies was doing the same thing. And yeah, we were the spearhead, we were leading it, but like every country you see now, UK, France, whatever, Canada, they're also capitalist fucking propagandists who were on our side in the Cold War. So like, it broke through to them. It's got to come our way eventually. And the thing is, I do think there is a serious divide between people who lived through that or close to it and people who didn't. People our age, like, that propaganda barely fucking scathed me. I grew up in the American education system and all that, but like, I wasn't programmed to hate communism in the same way that my dad was. That it is not nearly as strong. And so it was a lot easier to break. And I see that with a lot of younger people who actually get involved in this shit, tend to like not have this fear response. I see people saying the word socialist. I am a socialist now more than I ever did even 10 years ago.
No,
and it's becoming more and more acceptable. And I do think that universal health care, while it is it's not really a socialist policy, I guess we own the means of production of the insurance industry, but like of the socialist policies, we've already seen other hyper-capitalist nations implement it. It's not the fall of the fucking Berlin Wall, but in reverse. It's something that they might allow to happen. And lastly, I had a point and I was going to make it, and I'm completely forgetting what it was. But I really wish I could remember it because it was a good one. TJ, take it away.
Yeah. So, I was thinking what you were saying in two prongs. First is that it's my turn to be the grandpa here. My turn to tell the Lord over everyone else with my experience in here. So I think that the point you talked about with the other nations adopting universal healthcare, even though they were capitalist nations, I think that is different from the United States in one main reason, in how early they did it. Most of these nations adopted universal healthcare, some like pre-Cold War. And by pretty much everyone had done it by the 60s and 70s, which the Cold War was going on then. But that's where I think the transformation for us at least happened. Like the Cold War reached its zenith during the 80s, during the Reagan era. And at least the propaganda part where we were all, all fall in line, the evil commies and shit. And I think that left an indelible stamp for the next, 50, 60 years. Like it's going to be hard to overcome that because the vestiges are still there. And yeah, I think that if maybe it were to happen, it would have to be like maybe after my generation is gone. I think that really, because like I still remember that. I still remember the propaganda that goes through there. And the fact that the other capitalist nations did so before that happened, I think we're a little bit different than that. I think it's possible. I just think the battle would be so strong because the well has been poisoned so thoroughly that
it hasn't. It hasn't. Like that. Like you look at like polling with this specific issue. It is a favorable, like, it's not like we're fighting an uphill battle. We're fighting an uphill battle against entrenched power. But in terms of general popularity with this policy, it is a popular policy.
I agree. It is. I've read 60% of Americans are favorable to some sort of like universalized healthcare system, so on and so forth. Right. That is true. But I mean, I think to push back a little bit on what you said earlier about how the other countries were doing it too, and how, even though America was like the spearhead, I think like it's important not to discount the fact that America was the spearhead. Like America's greatest cultural export for the last 70 years has been anti-capitalism. That is what we have brought, or anti-communism. That is what we have given to the world in our music, in our movies, in our fashion, in our politics, in our books, in our poems, in our talk shows, right? And America being the dominant exporter of cultural goods, right? Of all those things that I just listed, and being the principal manufacturer of all anti-capitalist sentiments, and as well as the fact that I think what was different, and I could be wrong, right? Because I wasn't around, but I think what was different is that in America, our survival, the survival of the American people, the ability for America to thrive, the ability for American people to live their lives was innately tied to, inextricably linked to their hatred of communism. That was it. It's, if you don't hate communism, dude, it must mean you want your granny to fucking starve to death.
Yep.
That's crazy. If you don't hate if you don't despise communism, it must mean you want the USSR to come here and take away your speedboat. And I think part of it, and then another thing is that like American excess, right? This idea of consumerism that was pushed out by America onto the world, but like centralized in the United States, where everybody had to have everything. The big jump to super malls in the 80s and things of that nature. It tied us to our goods. It tied us to our materials, right? The propaganda worked best for us than any other country, twofold, because our survival was tied to the hatred of communism, but also like our vibes were too. Like, dude, you can't vibe as well as you can't vibe anywhere else in communism like you can vibe here in the US. You can't own a nice little car like here that like you can in communist Russia. And I think because of those two things, like TJ said, the well was thoroughly and effectively poisoned. But I do agree that my generation now is the most accepting of socialist ideas and socialism and communism and Marxism of any other generation I've seen. But even so, it's got to be another 20, 30, 40
No.
before.
Let me tell you how long it's going. Like, I've been saying this on the show for a little while, and just like
Yes.
the more time goes on, the more it feels like that I'm right about this.
Oh.
There's going to be a massive transfer of wealth over the next 10 to 20 years as the boomer generation dies. And that transfer of wealth is going to go. It's going to skip over the Gen Xers who are very small, although very fucking conservative. And it's going to go to the millennials, who are the first generation in recorded history to not grow more conservative as they age, and in fact go farther left. And when that happens, when you have a generation of millennials who, for the most part, did not have this well poisoned, and suddenly they have a lot more money and all of this resentment built up over their adult lives for the systems that be, because they couldn't buy that house until like just now, whatever. I think that is the moment where lightning strikes. And also, it will happen to coincide with the time when white people become a plurality in this country. It will happen to coincide with the time now, looking like after another 4 years of Trump is when it's going to fucking start. Yeah. I don't know. I think that we could, and it's, again, I'm believing this. Like, I am someone who thinks this is going to happen, and I was taken aback by the reaction to this Luigi thing. I could not believe how many people felt this way. I think we're a powder keg ready to fucking blow. And the winds to blow in the right direction, because, and this is the point I had earlier that I forgot, and we're about to tie it up with a bow. Talk to ex-conservatives. Very few of them are like traditional, like Republicans. If you ever see people, we talk about people who left the left all the time, but if you talk to people who left the right, they don't land at liberal moderate ever. I never see someone who's like, yo, I'm a libertarian, whatever. They just skip right over that because it's
they go straight to leftism. And
they go straight to leftism. I see time and time.
God
and time.
Damn it!
They ain't doing it for fucking money. Like it makes sense to me that, like, if there were to be some sort of big shock,
I agree,
and people started paying attention a little bit more, they tend to land where we are. It actually it aligns leftism and socialism align a hell of a lot more with libertarian Joe Rogan style of politics than fucking liberal moderates do.
But do you know what makes
a political realignment in the way that we had after
do you know what makes the difference, though? The difference is that the motherfuckers hate minorities. Like, they don't. I'm being so serious. That's
again, white people are gonna be the plurality at the time that this is happening. The white people are losing their fucking power just by the march of time and semen. It's just what's going to happen. We are going to be the minority, not the minority, but the plurality. The majority. And by the way, at the same time all of this is happening, the fucking institutional media apparatuses that existed during the Cold War are fucking dying. Everything is independent now. In 10 years, like the majority of people, I don't even know if it has already happened, but like, we don't have a centralized broadcast network where propaganda can just so thoroughly poison the well. It's impossible now. So, like, I'm telling you, I think
the CIA already did its job, though. I think now they don't have to do it for us anymore. We're doing it for them, right? Like, these independent media outlets, how many of them, like the biggest leftist commentators in the space, Hassan, who else?
Vosh, Destiny, yeah.
Vosh is big in LeftTube, and like, he's big if you're like really into culture war stuff.
Yeah,
but
Vosh
I think he's still
get
pretty
much
neat.
appeal outside the bubble at all.
He's pretty neat. Hassan is the only leftist, like leftist that exists outside of his sphere. But how many can you name that are conservative, dude? how many? There's so many, dude. I can name the Shapiros, the Rogans, Matt Walshes, the fucking Candace. So, and they have such a wide array. Like all respect to the conservative people, they got more diversity than I ever seen in my life. They got Asian women, black men, they got white men, they got gays, they got a couple trans people, they got the whole Power Rangers team lineup.
Power Rangers.
What do we have?
That's the thing. What have we been talking about on this show for the past? There is now, because the powers that be in Democrat world saw this. They finally see this, and they are finally moving on it. There is time to build it the fuck up over the next 10 years. The Republicans started doing this 12 years ago max. You know, I'm telling you, in like 12 years, we're going to have something similar on the left. Or, I mean, I goddamn hope so.
All right.
You know?
So it's December 12th. I just marked it because it's taken all year. But John, you finally made a good point. Now, the thing about conservatives that move left, nailed it. They never. I was thinking, because I am one of them. For those of you who don't know, I rocketed to, and I think it comes down a lot to something I say all the time, is that I'm not a conservative anymore, but I still think like one. Conservatives are kind of incapable of thinking with nuance. It's just they just can't do it. Like everything is one or two, up or down, and they have to do it. So which makes us great allies in trying to fight against conservatism, because we're so principled on that. And with the shift for the demographics and everything, that's true, but I think it's true-ish. And that's from what we see from Gen Z, which is kind of like Gen X has let us down by being rabidly conservative. Gen Z is not as left as we'd like them to be. But
they're not the poisoned well. The fucking
no, it's not.
The Latino men who are voting on social conservative things that voted for Trump, they weren't poisoned by the anti-socialism shit. Like they you look at fucking Latin America, they are very primed for there's several socialist countries.
Yeah, for them it's
Brazil, it's way easier to get down there, and it's not so much like they're letting us down as much as they are primed to hop over to us way more than the boomer Republicans.
Oh yeah, they will be easier, but I'm saying it's not a given, and it's certainly we're banking on, once we millennials get a hold of all this cash, that we're not going to, immediately start doing everything.
DJ says that like he doesn't.
Oh my God,
yeah, I know,
himself. Right? Hey!
Not
thanks for
on him,
the show, guys. Thanks for joining the show.
You snitched on him.
TJ's like, yeah. Once this hypothetical future comes where we get the money,
DJ's gonna get kicked out of communism, dude.
I know, right? Listen. When the commies come and they execute me for not being far left enough, they'd be like, "Great job, guys! You didn't let me down." I'd be like, very proud of you folks. But
I was just holding this house for you.
No, but like I do say that Gen Z, I'm very happy giving Gen Z the title of the greatest generation. Like Gen Z went through 9/11, multiple economic collapses, war our entire existence, and we still held the fucking line. We're still like the furthest left generation, after Gen Z has led us, or at least more
bullshit.
I'm a millennial.
He's right.
Oh, I'm sorry, millennials.
You're saying Gen Z.
Millennials are the greatest generation.
Yeah, he's right. No, Gen Z has. God damn it!
Gen Z is exactly. Gen Z's let us down. I want to
talk about that.
Yeah. So,
do you consider yourself Gen Z?
Yeah, you're Gen Z.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm
like right on the line, so you're Gen Z.
Yeah. So like millennials are the greatest generation because we have held the line this whole time. Like what you were just saying, John, with like Gen Z men or Gen Z Latino men or a higher chunk of Gen Z going right after 4 years. You think millennials would let that shit happen? There's no way we'd let that happen. We would quash that immediately, and
God
we've done.
CJ, you're right.
Right? Yes. So I want to put that out. And no, this is going way back with John. You were talking about. Actually, I can't remember who said it. I wrote down bad capitalist nations, or maybe it was Ate, but you were saying that we've successfully painted this idea that, you can't have a decent life if you're in a socialist or communist nation, that you're living in rags. Like everyone wears the same gray rags.
Yep.
There's no food at the grocery stores, and millions of people are fleeing all these communist nations. And as if we don't know damn fucking well that people are fleeing Guatemala, and Mexico and Somalia, all capitalist nations, by the way. For some reason, for some reason, people don't put the equivalence that, oh, people are fleeing capitalist nations every fucking day.
It's brown capitalism, TJ. They can't do it right.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's no joke. That is one of my favorite arguments there, because that's what they say. They say, well, they're not doing correct. Oh yeah, what are we doing different economically than these nations? I'd love to know. Please tell me what's so different about our capitalist ownership of the means production as anywhere else that's falling apart right now. It's this real special pleading they like to do with this. But go ahead, Ate. What were you going to mention?
I was going to say, and because I got a friend in the chat, and he said, he called me out. He said I'm not defending our generation well enough, and I just gotta say, TJ's fucking right, dude. Gen Z fucking sucks. Dude.
Drop the ball.
Gen Z fucking sucks, because what really, because I think it was 2016, 2018 that I was like, no, we are actually the most progressive generation and we will change the world. But in the last year specifically, I have come to realize that we have the potential to be so much fucking worse than perhaps any generation alive today, because the pipelines that have created around all of the sort of spheres that Gen Z operate the highest, gaming, fucking anime, fucking superheroes, comic books, you fucking name it, dude. The pipeline to like the most craziest batshit right-wing ideas is stronger than I've ever seen it. I mean, you 1 minute you're enjoying your favorite Minecraft YouTuber, and the next minute you are consuming real Nazi content. And it's like it's seamless. It is a seamless transition, because they introduce some ideas. Your TikTok algorithm or your YouTube algorithm introduces you to other content creators that have maybe stronger ideas, and they have stronger ideas. And even worse now, a lot of these people are turning into reactionaries and into like straight up Nazis without even having any sort of like political, like explicitly political conversations with the content creators that they're falling down this path with. For example, the red pill pipeline, they don't really speak about anything explicitly political. All their ideas are about manhood and about masculinity, and they usually fall on gender lines, but those are Nazi dog whistles. Those are all explicitly like things, the things being said about manhood, the things being said about women, those are all things rooted in fascism. And I'm not even certain if the content creators themselves know that. Their fans most certainly don't. But the effect of it is that a lot of young Gen Z men are falling down into fascist pipelines, fascist lines of thought without even fucking realizing it, dude. And the craziest thing now is, you guys are familiar with Fresh and Fit, right? The Myron Gaines, and they're just starting to say the quiet part out loud. First it was men need to be fucking as many women as possible. Now it's JQ. It's Jewish question.
Yeah.
How did we get here? So I'm sorry, I'm not rocking with Gen Z. I formally would consider myself a millennial. Thank you very much. I'll take that time.
Nope, sorry. Club is closed. We can't.
If you don't remember 9/11, get the fuck out of here.
Exclusive. Listen, sorry. I'll say second everything you're saying there, and it also got something I forgot to mention here is like why it's the case that it's so easy to feed people into conservative pipelines is because leftism has never been popular in the United States, and it's not popular today. And it's not because your standard American education system is made to produce conservatives. This is something that we talk about all the time. You go to school, you salute the flag, you pledge your allegiance to the state as a 6-year-old, and you were given a steady diet of the founding fathers were, not quite gods, but certainly more than men. This nation had manifest destiny from God himself. I mean, it is all fascist propaganda. It's incredible that we all aren't conservatives. Like, it's actually amazing. Like, given that that's just the schools, not to mention, your media, the culture in general, like the flag waving, saluting people, before football games and shit, the adoration and elevation of military service. It's wild how how goddamn conservative like the baseline culture is. That's why it's difficult to get it. It's not, I don't think the conservatives are smarter than us. They just have an easier test in front of them that, tell people that you like football, and then you start waving the flag around. Now you got a right-wing football commentator or a sports broadcaster. It's a lot easier than going in. It's like, hey, you ever consider the structural inequities? No, get the fuck out of here. No one's going to want to listen to that stuff.
Nerd.
Get this nerd shit out of here. Have you ever considered that your country is actually not blessed by God and that you're not any more special than anyone else? No one wants to listen to that shit. Hey, I don't know. And so I want to put a comment. I think Mark answered a question here where I said, what's so different about those other nations that the brown capitalists, how come they're not making it work out? And I'm guessing Mark answered rule of law, TJ. Buddy, we just elected a convicted fucking felon as president of the. What are you talking about? I don't know. As the rule of law, I know, right? This is just we are now all in love with a random Italian dude for shooting a guy because we all realize that guy he shot kills thousands of people every year with paperwork. I don't know. Come on, get out of here. But so go ahead. Someone was inhaling there. Couldn't tell who that was.
So I wanted to address a couple things here, and I'm going to do something where I reach into the bag, and I'm pretty sure I know where this is going, but I'm just going to keep talking till I land on the point. But we're just talking about Gen Z and the difference between Gen Z and millennials, and I sit in a very precarious position of I'm basically both. I'm 28 years old. I was born.
Oh God, it's one of these guys.
Dude, pick a fucking side.
I'm a millennial. I'm not a Gen X or a millennial. I'm a millennial.
But it's the truth. Like I don't feel completely one and the same with Gen Z. I don't feel completely one and the same with the millennials. And one of the biggest differences, but that I see as the differentiating line between Gen Z and millennials is that millennials still had access to the real world at some point in their lives untainted by a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have memories of an existence before our phones became a portal into a different reality. And Gen Z don't have that. Gen Z has lived their entire lives with this portal into a different reality being as real as the world around them. And I think that, I say this about kids, and we've talked about this before, TJ, with kids, where like if you just talk to them like an adult, that they'll respect you, and it's like the easiest thing to get along with kids. The other thing about kids is that they have active imaginations, and we always say this. And growing up as a kid, like I always thought, adults must just lose their imaginations because they're boring old adults or whatever. But what I realized is that if you actually play with a kid, like a little kid, we're talking like toddlers here, they will be actively aware that the imagined scenario that they are performing is imaginary, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They know, like, they'll be like, okay, now pretend this. And it is as real to them as reality is, but they are aware that it is pretend. And I think that is the best way to describe how Gen Z views reality. Because I know, like, growing up, I definitely had this sense of unreality. We would about things socially, they'd be memes on the internet, whatever, and we had them, and there was this disconnect. There was a what we're talking about and what we actually mean or what is actually impacting our physical lives are two separate fucking things. And it's not spoken, but it's real, where like we know that what we're saying is imaginary, but we don't actually like acknowledge it. And I think that's what happens with the red pill YouTubers and their audiences that are fucking a Nazi pipeline. They don't even understand. They're like, oh, haha, like fucking whatever. I think if you drilled them down deep, most of them are just little pussies. And like they're just performing this character online, but in real life, like the way we think about the fucking like anonymous fucking people online that are in our comment section that don't put their names on it, but that is like real life. Everything has this false sense of reality because everything is unreal. And I think that is the thing that trips up Gen Z and the distinction between Gen Z and millennials, where millennials at least have an understanding of what reality is. Gen Z does not. So like they don't see the danger in a fascist pipeline because what the government does, we have no fucking control over it. It doesn't matter what we think, say, or do. Nothing ever changes. That's been our entire lives. We're going to live in this unreality. And I think that really explains why so many Gen Zers are so comfortable with it. The flip side of that is you can reverse the fucking pipeline. And this is what I say, like, you can just put that pipeline on reverse. The algorithms are fairly easily controllable. They're controlled by money. They're not controlled by the government in the same way that propaganda used to be. And like, the algorithm's going to algorithm. And if you can hack that, you can beat it. You can beat these people at their own game. And I think it can be done.
I think it's easier to TJ's point, though. I think it's significantly easier to game the algorithm from a conservative perspective than it is from a leftist one, because you can say, dude, women are too dumb and too emotional to deserve the right to vote, and people are going to be like, hold on, okay, that kind of makes sense. But to combat that, you actually have to put this study, make a 2-hour fucking video essay on why that's dumb. Because, like he said, most of this country, and I don't even want to say most of this country, the country as a whole, the way we are socialized, the way the socialization works in this country is that we are primed to be more in line with conservative ideas, meaning that it's an active struggle in our brain to escape those conservative ideas. By default, we are born with some level, and this varies person to person, but we are inundated with some level of conservative ideology that we have to actually intentionally fight against. And it's not shit to reinforce that. It's super duper easy. You know what I'm saying? It's already, you're building on what's already there. But for leftism, you're kind of having to build an entire sort of like new neural network, a new neural pathway, a new intellectual framework for these people. And that requires a lot more work. And I think the algorithm doesn't really, we have some couple success stories, but I would actually wager that the algorithm is more invested in pushing conservative things, ideas, pro-capitalist ideas, than they are like things that directly what's the word, interfere with capitalist policies that these algorithms, these companies are built off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, so like, this started with Rush Limbaugh, really, at least that I can think back to when it first started going off, is that Rush Limbaugh figured out that there is a strong incentive in conservative media.
TJ's bringing up fucking Rush Limbaugh. Dude,
you're fucking old. Get a load of this fucking grandpa.
Listen up, folks.
Fucking
I've seen a few things. All right. Okay. All right. I remember when we got the telegraph and the horseless carriage. It was a really big deal. Okay, when communication. So no, Rush Limbaugh figured out that there is a strong incentive in conservative media to be outrageous, to be like as close to being an openly reprehensible person, and like be as like push the envelope as far as you can, and that'll draw eyeballs. That'll catch people's attention. Like, you don't even like, it could like reinforce a lot of the conservative stuff that we grew up with, like, oh, women are too irresponsible, stuff that you're like, it's okay for women to be irresponsible, but men, they're the ones that need to get shit done. And you can make big jokes about it and everything, and that's going to catch people's attention. Like, oh, look at that crazy guy over there. It works. It works. Like, and now we see what we have today. The stuff that Rush Limbaugh said back in the mid 90s, it wouldn't get anywhere today. Wouldn't get anywhere. Like Stu Peters from, I forget which one he's on, like Newsmax or whatever. He literally just went on Twitter today or yesterday, posted the 14 words. I mean, like, just boom, 14 words right there. That was his post. Wow. This guy, Kash Patel, who is Donald Trump's current nominee for the FBI, was on Stu Peters' show twice last year or the last couple of years or something like that. And it doesn't matter anymore. Like that, like they don't even hide the Nazi stuff. Like you said with Fresh and Fit, they just put, because like it's gotten to that point where the old stuff of like hinting at racism or bigotry is not enough. And it's and so it also goes to another reason that it's easier, that we all have this, and I try my best to try to fight against it because it pops up all the time. A disdain for the poor. Like you want to be as far away from poor people as possible. You insult people by calling them poor. There's a very interesting history etymologically with words that were used to refer to poor people that have become insults over the years. There's I'm gonna do a video about like we have a jack of like a jack of hearts or a jack of clubs or whatever. It used to be called a knave back in the day, because like a jack is not like king, a queen, like what is a jack or whatever. But
yeah,
it used to be a knave, and knave just meant like some guy who hung around the castle, and maybe he did some tricks here and there. He helped out, whatever. He was just a regular kind of dude who happened to be around the aristocracy, but not really an aristocrat. The word knave morphed into an insult. You call someone a knave, it's kind of an old-timey insult now, but you don't think highly of them. So they actually ended up changing it to jack because knave got such a negative connotation. But when you see any of someone with the affectation of being lower class, you look down on them. Like you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to be like that at all. So that's easy to push too. Like I think it's really hard to just like to do the opposite of that. It's like, oh no, actually we're all legal. Like respect, liberals do this shit too. Back to making fun of liberals, where the line that liberals would always say that we make fun of now. I respect the janitor just as much as the CEO. That's what their solution to this is. Like, oh, actually, we should treat everyone like instead of like flipping it and looking down on the rich. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty challenging course we have ahead of us. Oh shit,
that is fair.
That comment?
Are you talking about Mark's one at the end there?
Yeah, I was waiting for you guys to see it.
So Mark says, TJ, are you serious? You guys do an episode celebrating a murder and want to say that conservatives push boundaries. You guys are plenty controversial. Mark, like this is what I say. Like
this
Mark,
must be fake Mark.
To be I hope this is the right Mark. Mark, I hope this is the right Mark. But no, here's the thing, Mark. Like this just feels like such a disingenuous statement.
It's very disingenuous
because we celebrate murderers all the time. Like I think we can agree that there are murderers littered throughout history that we celebrate over and over again. And just someone murdering someone does not mean they are a bad person. Like you can point to whoever the fuck it is. Our fucking country was founded on a bunch of murderer terrorists. The people on our money were considered fucking terrorists. That's just the goddamn case. So if you're telling me that celebrating a murder, something that, again, everyone fucking does at some point in their lives, is as controversial as saying the 14 words,
yeah,
your ethics are out of whack. Like, it's just like that. There's nothing close. Plenty of good people have celebrated murderers. 0 good people have said the 14 words.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's good. Like this is it's one of those things. Like once again, I hope this is fake Mark. I'm putting out hope that that's not real Mark right there, because like that sounds a lot like wow, so you're telling me you're celebrating Nat Turner? What the fuck is wrong with you? Nat Turner killed innocent slave owners, and it's like what? Yeah, right. Or John Brown. You're gonna say, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Not every like death of a human being is on equal footing. It's just not. Yeah.
You celebrate when Osama bin Laden died, and let me fucking tell you, Osama bin Laden is responsible for a hell of a lot less deaths than Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
Statistically.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, it's
and also for better reasons.
Say what? For better reasons.
And that's not to say bin Laden's reasons were great, but they were at least a little more fucking staunch than I want to make more money.
Yeah, no, I have to side with that. As fucked up as it sounds.
True. Yeah, like Osama bin Laden, what he did was wrong, but the man had a legitimate beef. What do you like? It's funny because like when this came out, speaking of Gen Z again, people were shitting on Gen Z because they released like something like they re-released what Osama bin Laden had said in his writings and stuff, and Gen Z's like, hey, this guy's actually cooking, and all these videos came out. I was like, I can't believe Gen Z is celebrating. But I was like, no one's saying, well, not no one, but I mean, I'm sure most people aren't saying what bin Laden did was good. Yeah. We're saying, yeah, he's right about U.S. imperialism. He's right about that. Like that actually is true. Now his actions, I wouldn't defend, but I mean, we're gonna. It's just such a simplistic way to look at this because Thomas Jefferson is on our currency. Like Thomas Jefferson is he's on Mount Rushmore.
Pedophile.
He's a pedophile who enslaved his own fucking children. His own children, okay? Yeah. I don't see comments like, I can't believe we put this pedophile who enslaved his own flesh and blood. No one does that because like when you're celebrating like Thomas Jefferson, you're celebrating stuff like, I don't know, the Virginia statute on religious freedom, or stuff like that, stuff that we still hold dear. It's like, that was good. You can say, I don't know. And what Luigi Mangione did is like, hey, he killed someone, and you look at why? Oh, because this guy was essentially a serial killer. He's Dexter. Yeah. And like we love Dexter. And so I don't know. It's just go ahead.
That's the position I hold, and I'll always hold. I will always celebrate the murder of bad people. Like it's you know what I mean?
Or at
like
least
I'm
not
not
feel bad. And I'm not
or at
feeling
least
the
not feel
ounce
bad.
of sleep. Yeah.
At least not, you know, because I'm not gonna throw a party. Yeah. But if a bad person who is directly responsible for hundreds, thousands of deaths, especially for a profit incentive, like for the
Yes.
sake of there's almost nothing more disgusting than that to me.
Mhm.
So hell yeah, I'm a clap up. Fuck yeah, dude. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, dude. He did his thing. Is really what I'm gonna say. And just to really get back and shit on liberalism, that to me is really one of the most interesting aspects of liberalism. Like I was talking about before, how it's not even remotely interested in the real world. You know how like liberals mostly will be like, well, you know, communism, socialism sound good on paper, but in reality,
They
you're
love
about
that.
to
They
say the
love it.
same thing
They
that I'm
love
thinking right
it.
now. Keep cooking, Ate.
liberalism is exactly what they're talking about. Liberalism sounds good on paper. The fundamentals of liberalism sound good as philosophical ideas, but they do not make sense in the real world. And I'll give you an example because this is what a friend of mine who had just escaped conservatism had talked about in terms of his, and we were talking about Israel and Gaza, and we were talking about the right of Palestinians to be able to violently violently revolt and sort of like, you know, try to take their land back. And he said, after like an hour of like going back and forth and arguing with him, he finally conceded that Palestinians he believes they do have a right to fight to get their land back.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, but would you support a Palestinian resistance movement? Because we were talking, it was about Hamas and how he believes Hamas is terrible. And I was like, okay, so would you support a Palestinian resistance movement that isn't Hamas, that was doing good, that wasn't, you know, doing the awful things that you say Hamas was doing? He said, no, I wouldn't support it. I said, I asked why. He said, man, it's just going to lead to another war. That's liberalism in a nutshell. That's liberalism in a nutshell. It is the status quo above all else.
Ate,
Go ahead,
they
John.
don't want to fix the underlying problem. They want to stop hearing about it. The people who are like, stop celebrating this murderer, they are not interested in solving the pain that is causing people to celebrate the murder. They just want to stop hearing about it. And there's something distinctly conservative about that too. It's the same way conservatives think about like gay people and LGBT people, and you know, like they like the fucking bathroom whole thing that happened a couple weeks ago. It's like,
yeah,
trans people have been using the bathroom of their mother for decades. It hasn't been a fucking problem. It only became a problem when conservatives were forced to think about the fact that there might be a trans man in their bathroom. And then they're like, oh no, I don't want that. They want all of these things to exist. They're like, okay, cool. I'm okay with you being trans. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to know you're trans. I don't want to see a guy that looks like a dude being a trans woman. A guy that I think is a woman being a trans woman, I have no fucking problem with that. I don't have to think about it. And there's such a distinct similarity between that mindset and what you are describing with liberals. It's really like something I've been
It's not even a similarity. It's the same thing. Like the thing is, modern liberalism is inherently conservative. Like there's no way around it. That's just kind of the thing, because to the ideology of holding on to the status quo, and this is what makes me hate liberals more than even conservatives sometimes, because at the very least, a conservative's argument would be that I actually like the way things are.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think they should be worse.
Yeah.
But a liberal would tell you, well, yeah, the way things aren't great, but I don't want to be bothered to solve it.
It's exactly what MLK said, that, you know, they prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, instead of a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. That's right. Exactly what
I can't believe I just accidentally paraphrased MLK and like didn't acknowledge it. Like I'm kind of pissed. Like, I was like, oh, I just had a unique thought. No,
I kept waiting for one of you to do it. I was like, okay, we're dancing around this, but there's a very famous quote.
I thought about it,
bro. I quote that all the time, teacher.
I know.
I thought about it.
All the time. Yeah.
But MLK has become liberal Jesus, and so I just
I know. It's so it's just I do hate that MLK has been stolen by the liberals and for a while by the conservatives. I'm glad the conservatives would let it go. The conservatives like, nope, actually we hate MLK.
They gave him back.
Yep, they're like, he's yours now. He's yours now. Oh my! So I see Mark. Oh, we got to close up the show. But Mark says, TJ, not fake Mark, real Mark. You kids are being controversial. That's exactly what fake Mark would say. So I am convinced now. This is definitely fake Mark here. But oh God, you know what? We didn't even get to our other topics. It's already 8:30. But we gotta close this out. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think we should close this out. And we'll close it out here. So. Thank you guys so much. You made it to the end of the video. I'm really glad about that. But what I'm really glad about is that I didn't have to explain about any intersectionality with Black people in the Cold War. So if you want to hear more about that sort of thing, how about Destructive Hugo? Tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram now, dude. I'm taking myself seriously as a content creator, if you haven't heard. And I am starting to, and this is a really cool announcement, I am starting to work on long form video essays on YouTube that will go into the politics of whatever movie I'm interested in talking about. Right now, what I'm working on is the politics of the video essay that I'm working on is a 3-part video essay about Spider-Man, and more specifically the live action Spider-Man movies and how each of them differ in the depiction of Uncle Ben's death. I find something really interesting about Spider-Man 1's depiction of Uncle Ben's death, because the Uncle Ben moment is supposed to be this moment where Spider-Man sort of like realizes his potential as a hero, and so as a result, us as the audience is supposed to sort of realize our potential as people, as people that could affect positive change in the world. But Uncle Ben dies trying to stop a robber. And I find that really interesting, because juxtaposed with the MCU's version of Uncle Ben, which is actually Aunt May in Spider-Man Far From Home, she dies not trying to stop a robber, which is silly, but trying to rehabilitate a supervillain. And so there's subtle political differences, not even subtle. They're not so subtle political differences between how those two Uncle Bens and the messages that come from those sacrifices. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. So I'm really excited to write it. Follow the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube, and stay tuned.
Fantastic. Look forward to it. We appreciate you coming on, Ate. Destructo Jugo, Ate, fantastic. I would say he is our second favorite guest host. Our favorite guest host actually joined us on December 4th from the hours of 6 a.m. Eastern time to 9 a.m. Eastern time. Man named Luigi Mangione. If you guys want to check out that video, it's private on YouTube right now, but he was in studio recording with us. It was fantastic. So check that out. Thank you guys. We'll catch you later.
He has an alibi.